Hello neighbor, my name is Hannah. Welcome back to my channel, Pretty Hippie Me. And today we're gonna do something different. I don't know if I've mentioned this in a video before or not, but I've recently lost a lot of weight by starting to live a ketogenic lifestyle. And I wanted to share some of the food that I get to eat as someone doing keto. For me, it's not a diet, it's a lifestyle change. I haven't talked about it a lot because I'm not a doctor, and I feel like there are better doctors on YouTube who can describe what it all is to be keto or eat keto. But basically the big idea is cutting down your sugar a lot so that your body starts to burn fat. And for me, I've lost 40 pounds and I have like 80 more to go. So I had a lot of fat on me that needed to be burned. It's a baking video. I'm gonna show you me making one of my favorite desserts, which is a keto chocolate cake with cream cheese frosting. The lighting in my kitchen is terrible, so I'm just gonna warn you in advance, I look like a gremlin in this video. I'm also wearing no makeup, which in retrospect was a bad choice. So I hope that you enjoy watching me bake and look terrible and learning about some keto foods. And yeah, if you want me to talk more about being keto, just let me know in the comments below and I'll do that. Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy. So these are all of my ingredients for the frosting and the cake, and I am not sponsored by any of these brands, don't worry. The frosting is a cream cheese frosting. I'll be using the stevia, heavy cream cheese, vanilla, and butter. And then the cake is going to use the stevia, the vanilla, the eggs, almond flour, baking cocoa, kosher salt. We're using a sea salt because that's just what we have. And baking soda. And I think also butter. Quick note, 1, yes, the lighting is terrible in here. Just gonna be how it is. 2, if you're like me and you're a baking beginner, don't forget that you need to use unsalted butter. I tried this recipe in the past and it tasted really good, except there was something really weird about it, and that was because we had used salted butter, and it makes a real difference. Everything else can go great, but if you use salted butter, it'll taste so weird. So unsalted butter, for sure. I think the best plan of attack for today is to start with the cake, and then while the cake is in the oven, I'll do the frosting. When the cake cools, apply frosting, have a delicious keto cake. So I'm gonna get started. The oven is preheating to 325 Fahrenheit. I need to microwave my butter to melt it for the recipe, and then I'll probably put it in the fridge to cool a little bit. I have my 4 eggs, my 1½ teaspoons of stevia, and they're a little heaping because I have never met a keto cake that was too sweet for me. I hope that worked out fine. 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and my 1/2 cup or 4 ounces of melted butter. Whee! Now I'm gonna whisk them all. Yeah, whisk it. This is a good angle for whisking. I need to gradually whisk in my 1 cup of almond flour and my 1/2 cup of unsweetened cocoa powder. Oh yeah. Chocolate cake batter. A little bit lumpy, but that's just kind of how it is with almond flour, guys. Finally adding in our 1/2 teaspoon of kosher salt, which, as I mentioned, I'm using our ground sea salt that we have. And another 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. Gonna whisk that all together. Okay, everything is mixed together, and just like the recipe says, the batter is quite thick. So now I'm gonna grease my pan and pour it on in. And just a note about this pan, this is a springform pan, which is not what the recipe says to use, but it's the only pan that we have. So my cake is probably going to turn out a little bit thinner. So that's what happens when you're poor. Okay, great. The pan is all buttered up, and we're gonna go from this to this. Because the recipe is such a thick batter, as it mentioned, it's holding its shape there in the center. So I'm not going to fill the pan out all the way. I'm going to see what happens if I kind of let it kind of make its own shape, because that way it'll be a little thicker if it's not spread out so much. That's going in the oven. The recipe says to bake it for 18 to 20 minutes, but since I'm using a different kind of pan, I'm gonna check on it and maybe cook it for a little less time. I'm just gonna keep poking it and see what happens. I also tasted a little bit of the batter and it doesn't taste amazing. The last time that I baked a keto chocolate cake, I used a different recipe, so I'm hoping that this one turns out okay. But now it's on to the frosting, and if anything else, the frosting will make up for a so-so cake. Okay, I have my 4 ounces of cream cheese and 2 tablespoons of butter, both softened and cut into chunks. They're supposed to be cubes, but that's fine with me. And now I'm going to beat them together. I beat together my cream cheese and my butter with a fork because I'm poor and I don't have a mixer. And now we're going to beat in a half teaspoon of vanilla extract and a half cup of sweetener. I'm using stevia. Finally, we are going to add 1 tablespoon of heavy cream and beat again. And I have a finished frosting, and it actually does taste awesome. So if my cake doesn't end up being amazing, the frosting really will help it. Meanwhile, my cake has come out of the oven and it is cooling. It looks pretty good. The fork came out nice and clean. So once it cools down, I will frost it and we'll have ourselves a real deal cake. Okay, so this is my final product of the cake. You can see, as I mentioned, my cake itself is a little thin. Just, you know, using that wrong pan size makes a difference. But I had enough frosting to spread over the whole thing. And the size of it doesn't impact the taste. I will cut out a slice and taste it and let you know. You can see a pretty nice even rise on the batter. The frosting is a cream cheese frosting. It got a little tad lumpy, but if you were using a better blender instead of a fork, that's probably could be avoided. I'm gonna take a bite. This is my first time trying this cake recipe, but I have used this frosting recipe before, so let's see. Yeah, it's good. The frosting definitely helps. I saw a note in the recipe that there have been other people like myself who find the chocolate cake not to be sweet enough. But the texture is great. The cream cheese frosting came out great. The cake itself is a subtle sweetness, and honestly, a little salty because they had us put in salt. I was wondering why. I think that you could totally not put that in if you don't want. And then probably the sweetness would come through more. But yeah, it was yummy. I love making keto cake recipes because they're so easy, and with almond flour they're super low in carbs. You can do your own calculation to, like, depending on which almond flour you use and so on, you can add up your own math for how many net carbs it's going to be, or you can use the recipe has nutritional fats, so you can use those. The frosting recipe, 1/6 of the frosting that we made is 1 net carb, and with the cake recipe, they actually show 2 different sets of nutrition facts. So I'm not exactly sure what to do with that, but it's somewhere between 2 and 4 net carbs for 1/9 of the cake. So overall, super low carb for some cake. And like when you're on keto and you're craving bready food, good recipe. Didn't take me that long to make, especially the frosting is super quick and easy. You just combine all the ingredients and it came out really nice and really yummy. They have an option with the cake recipe to add a little bit more stevia, or like I said, maybe cut down the salt a little bit. But yeah, Totally worth spending like an hour doing this recipe. Thanks for watching! I hope this was fun and helpful for you to see what I'm eating on a daily basis and what you can eat if you do keto. There are lots of ways to be creative and still get to have your favorite flavors and your favorite foods while not overloading your body with sugar. I need to eat some of this cake, so I'm gonna go. But thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment below. Let me know if this was interesting to you. It really, really means so much to me when I get your support. And I'll see you again soon for another one. Thank you so much. So much love. Bye.